Could free terraces and less red tape be the recipe to bring Montreal streets back to life? Soraya Martinez Ferrada wants to make it easier for businesses in Montreal to expand their footprint out of doors. She's promising to make sidewalk terraces free in Ville-Marie starting in 2026. Martinez Ferrada is a candidate for the mayor, and she's also the leader of Ensemble Montreal, and she joins us on the line. Good morning.
Good morning.
So what's your plan?
Well, I want to build the trust again. I think business owners, restaurants are, their trust in the city has been very fragilized and been diminished to almost none because of the fiasco we had last year around terraces. And I want to rebuild that trust and make it easier for them to build terrace in downtown core in Ville-Marie Borough. As you know, terraces are a DNA of a city like Montreal, and I want to make sure that we give them incentives to do it.
Right. So I take your point about red tape, but also presumably there have to be certain regulations and limitations.
Of course.
So how would that work?
Absolutely. So I want to make sure that we give them a one stop where they can actually be accompanied by, in this instance, we propose to be PME Montreal that can actually support them and guide them through those regulations. But what's important to know is that we need to make sure that a borough gives predictability to restaurant owners where we don't change the regulations year after year, because that makes them a cost of thousands of dollars when they have to change the terrace again for inches, for instance, that are not, the same anymore. As you know, streets don't change every year. So we can actually make sure that we have plans that are year to year that they can be trustworthy of, and not design the terrace every year because we change a couple of centimeters of a terrace. So I think we need to make sure that, yes, the regulations, we can have a one-stop where we can support them with professional design services like architects or designers, and making sure that we help them do the plans that are required in response to the specification of the borough.
Okay, so just so I understand, so it's going to be free, but not without red tape. I mean, owners are still going to have to submit a plan and apply for some kind of permit?
Yes,
Is
but
that
we're
right?
going to help them for that. Yes, but we are going to help them to do that. And we are going to help them with those costs because we're going to have a one-stop shop that would be PME Montreal that will have that mandate. So we're going to make sure that they're, especially the first-time restaurants that want to do it the rest for the first time, we're going to help them with those costs and designs to make sure that they have the incentive to do it. The cost of a terrace can be very high, but if we can take some of that cost away, I think it will be a good incentive for those restaurant owners to do it.
And what have you heard from restaurant owners and other businesses about the problems of erecting that kind of a structure now? Like, how's the system working right now?
Well, it creates a lot of anxiety. The over inspections that they're dealing with, the fact that they don't know for sure if the terrace will be okay. They don't know if next year they can actually keep that terrace and make it use it again because they don't know if the regulations will change. Restaurants, actually, some of them decided not to do a terrace this year because it was too complicated, or they didn't feel they didn't have the trust that they could actually follow through those specifications and making sure that, they wouldn't have any problems, or over having public works on the street. Graciela and McGill actually decided not to do a terrace this year, which is a shame. So I think we need to make sure that we're supporting restaurant owners to do this. One,
Right.
eliminating the cost. Two, simplifying the process. Three, making sure that it's safe, clean, and that, people can enjoy restaurants and bars. And yes, and offering access to professional designers through PME Montreal. So these are
Yeah.
4 things that we can do to incentivize, support, and make sure that the restaurant owner want to do terrace in downtown core.
How do you ensure that the terraces are safe and clean?
Well, you have to make sure that we're doing more in terms of having patrols, cleaning squads with patrols around the area, and having more of those collaborations with the Société de Développement Commercial downtown. They have done they have really good examples of that in downtown in the village, and I think we can do more of those and making sure that they feel and people see them, and so that's going to increase the feeling of feeling more secure,
Yeah.
especially in downtown core.
It's interesting, though, you talk about Graciela and you talk about, balancing public works and outdoor life in Montreal, which is something I think most Montrealers are frustrated with a little bit, public works, but at the same time, as an administration, it's summer. That's the time when we have to work on the aqueducts and we have to work on the roads. And so how do you balance those needs of businesses versus the infrastructure needs of the city?
Well, I think we can actually, and this is something that we announced a couple of weeks ago, I mean, 2 or 3 weeks ago. I think the city, as you know, we're the heart and soul of the research on artificial intelligence. And we can use that to better plan our works in the city and maybe do a bit less, but more efficiently and more quickly with more quality. And I think, using the artificial intelligence would be one of the ways that we can better plan the city and the works around the city, especially the impact of those works on the mobility of the city, and making sure that we're supporting restaurant owners so they know what's coming and we can actually better plan with them how to go through and mitigate the impact that they'll have when we do those public works.
Yeah, and I mean, I live near Saint Denis, and I know that Saint Denis merchants really suffered over the years of infrastructure, and even now, there's a real transition in businesses. So we know how challenging it can be for businesses to survive during these big infrastructure projects. I guess what do you hope that the change in regulations will mean for summers in Montreal for the users of the terrasse?
Well, as you know, we have an election coming up next year. I think I want citizens of Montreal to know that in downtown core in Bilbert-Morrow, if I'm mayor, I will be mayor of the downtown core, and I want to make sure that we're increasing these terraces, we're increasing the experience in these terraces, and I want to make sure that owners of restaurants will want to do the more of those because it's in our DNA, and I think it's one of the things that we love of our city, be able to enjoy, a good meal, a drink on the terrace downtown, feeling safe, secure, and having beautiful terraces. And I think we can do that if we support them in a better way.
And of course, most people, I think, would love that idea. But there's also the one thing we haven't spoken about are the problems that always arise with parking and car traffic. How do you mitigate that in the downtown core?
Again, you know what? I mean, artificial intelligence is one way to think about it. If you have a car and you want to go downtown and you're looking for parking, we can actually have, an app or something that can help you look for those parking instead of turning around, sometimes 30, 45 minutes looking for a parking and feeling, despair and just say, well, next time I won't come downtown.
Right. How
So I want
close
to
are
make
we
sure
to
that
having that kind of app, though?
well, you know what? There's people that actually already worked on those for indoor parking, and I think we can think about that for the outdoor parking. And I mean, it is possible, and I think as a city being so innovative and creative, we should be looking into those things to make sure that we're enhancing the experience, not only for Montreal's tourism, and also supporting businesses to make sure that people will want to come back to downtown again.
Ms. Martinez Ferrada, thank you.
Thank you so much.